Well, thank you for taking the time today to speak with me.
Sure.
I'm excited to get to know you a little bit better, even. Um,
Mhm.
I guess first off, I mean, I know you've obviously been spearheading this merger, but what are you most excited about from the recent merger of 1871 and formerly ITA?
There were many things I was excited about, but I'll give you just a handful to give you some examples.
Hmm.
The first is, and the language I used all the way throughout was this notion of the power of and, meaning you take two tremendously important organizations in Chicago tech, and when you combine them together, do you get more than the sum of their parts? And the belief was that the answer was yes, which is why both sides of the house were supportive of this deal. But the first one was sort of this ability to connect the dots and the experience for people in tech, that ranging from the founders, the folks that are incubating the businesses, the ones that have the idea and they're growing it into an actual business, to the teams that are growing and scaling bigger companies, faster,
Hmm.
you know important tech institutions in Chicago, up through the innovators in corporate. And so this idea that you could kind of string a line through all of them by putting our two organizations together was the number one reason. The second was sort of expanding the circle of
Yeah.
connecting these networks, albeit, some of the networks is overlapping, of course, but really there's a lot that wasn't, right? If you did the Venn diagram, there's a whole bunch that weren't overlapping. So the idea of connecting those networks. And the third one is, for 2 years, we've been talking about the shifting strategic transition for 1871 to be more towards an experience versus 1871 as a place. And
Hmm.
ITA already had that theme of as an experience. And so this has allowed us to continue to push down that path. And of course, COVID has accelerated that even more. But probably the three most important things at the beginning.
Now that we are, geez, what is it, 5 months in? What is something unexpected that came out of the merger that you weren't initially, thinking of?
Yeah, I don't, and I don't know if these were unexpected. Like, I had them in the back of my brain, but I didn't know how they might manifest themselves. And again, there's many. I'll just give you a couple of examples. First is the team, yourself very much included. This amazing team. Julia and Jeremy and others told me how amazing the team was, and so I had a high bar in my head of what to expect. But they truly have. All of you have been just extraordinary and made outstanding contributions over the last couple months. And so that was number one. Not a surprise, but great to have that validated. The second was the WIC program, the Women Influence Chicago program. The graduation was about, I guess it was probably now 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
And all I can say is, wow. I mean, the whole time, just the people in the program, the mentors expressing how much that program meant to them and how important it was to have this cohort in this community as they grow as female leaders in Chicago tech. It was just outstanding. And when I think about the power of connecting WIC with WISTEM, which is the existing incubation program for female founders, right? This idea, again, back to an earlier comment, to connect the dots, to to support women that are both founders but also growing their careers in tech in Chicago, I just think is stupendous. And then the last couple of things I'll say is the councils, the IoT, AI, and talent councils. We're in really early days, but so many ideas, so much talent and energy, people just wanting to be helpful, and then that would just lead me to the full ITA membership. Lots of folks I knew, but there's a whole bunch of others that I've never had the opportunity to connect with until now. And everyone is just so focused on helping build and scale Chicago, right? It's just this, wonderful sort of sense of commitment, and this idea that a win for one of us is a win for all of us. So it's been just tremendous. Even with COVID, I didn't plan on COVID as being part of the integration exercise.
I guess to dial it back even further, what made
Yeah.
you join the 1871 team to begin with?
Yeah. So I started the conversation in October of 2017,
Hmm.
and the offer, or I was announced in like middle of February 2018. So it was kind of a long journey. And, for me, it was following the iconic Howard Tillman serial entrepreneur. So, I've got a really different background, and this idea of stepping into those shoes, right? It was sort of like what might this be, and what am I excited about, and how might I think about it? And I'll say probably 3 or 4 things. The first is, there are 3 reasons I was definitely excited about it, and the fourth that sort of made me absolutely 100% take it. The first 3 are that this idea of being able to engage with like hundreds of startups, hundreds of leaders in tech, hundreds of innovators at the meta level was super energizing. 'Cause I'd done a lot of work at the individual level, but this idea of having this community of people innovating and problem solving and growing businesses was super energizing to me. You know, the 1871 was 5.5 years into his journey at the time that I joined.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that, what is the next curve? What is the next opportunity for growth, that I would have the opportunity to set that vision and lead the organization in that direction. Mm-hmm. And the third was, when you're the leader of 1871, you by definition are a leader in the civic life of Chicago. And that's been just amazing to meet all these folks that are just, connected to making Chicago great, tech and otherwise. And that, in this role, I have a seat at the table and in the conversations and to some level the decision making on how Chicago moves forward. And then the last thing I'll say is, this is the kind of opportunity that only comes around once, right? If I said no, it would never come back. And so those 4 things combined is what I did the leap. And I joined in April 2nd of 2018, and it's been an amazing two something years so far.
What do you like most about what you do, being a CEO of 1871?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the times I have the most joy are when I'm, standing at either the literal or the virtual whiteboard with individuals helping solve a problem. Mm-hmm. So this notion, and that could be a person or a group of people, and they can be, people that are leading, growing companies. They could be in the corporate innovation space. They could be individual founders, members of my team, whatever. Like I love the interaction with individuals on a problem. That's my ultimate favorite thing to do. And then the second is, I believe deeply in our mission. I believe in what the future can hold for 1871. And I believe in the power of being an 1871 and ITA member, that matters. And so it makes it super easy. I'm a very early to rise person, and makes it super easy for me to wake up in the morning and just start moving.
And then bit of a turn here, but what is your outlook on the local tech industry, especially in light of everything that's going on?
Yeah, so my outlook remains very positive. It was very positive before COVID. It remains very positive. I think the power of some natural assets that exist in Chicago will enable us to be successful during, these particularly rough times, which by the way aren't equally rough for everybody. There are some companies that are growing extremely fast during this period of time. Obviously, a lot of others that are being very much encumbered by COVID. But when I think about the great assets of Chicago, we have tremendous talent. We have huge corporate customers with the density of Fortune 500 companies. We've got amazing intellectual capability with all the universities, not just in Chicago, but across the state of Illinois. We've got great early stage funding. We've got a number of companies that are growing really fast and either have just IPO'd or are kind of in that emerging to be in that window that allows us to sort of scale talent at more senior levels. And so I'm very encouraged. And when I think about what's happened during COVID and how people have, from all different organizations, have come together to help impact the crisis, both in literally impact the crisis, companies from Matter and M-Hub and 1871 and ITA, of course, but also those that are helping prepare for the recovery. I mean, we've got a number of examples of people that have pivoted their business to help specifically now. And I said a comment earlier about how the Chicago community comes together, and I think our value set really reinforces that orientation, that if you can help solve the problem, then you help solve the problem. Then you just do that. That's just part of your obligation of being a Midwestern tech leader.
Yeah. Change things up a little bit. I know anyone that meets you probably could answer this for you, but what are your favorite top three sports teams out there?
Yeah, well, I think most people could answer at least one of them for
Yeah,
me.
that's true.
This is the first one, which is I'm a very passionate, proud Ohio State Buckeye. So all things Buckeye supersede all other. And then I was raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I was raised as a Packers fan and a Cubs fan. So my three teams are Buckeyes, number one, and then Cubs and Packers.
Okay, so then it's been the time of quarantine. What are some of your favorite books, podcasts, movies, TV shows, that you
Yeah, I did embrace the binge movement. And there are a handful of things that I've just loved. I loved the show Hunters that came out on Amazon Prime. I've loved the show Politician. I think it's The Politician, that stars Ben Platt, who's a Broadway star, and has Bette Midler and a number of Judith Light and a couple of other, famous people in it on Netflix. And then of course, now that Hamilton is on Disney Plus, we've watched it twice in the last week. So, it's, I love my iPad. I love, I don't want to wait week by week for the next, part of the story.
show? Yeah.
I'm very supportive of let me just, dive in and kind of consume it all.
Let's see. Last but not least, the one question on everyone's mind: what is your go-to karaoke song?
So I'll share it, but
You won't sing it?
I might sing it under very unique circumstances. We'll see. But I always make the mistake of telling people this, and then when the opportunity presents itself, people ask me to perform it, which I then have to figure out how to handle in that moment. But my favorite is Young MC's "Bust a Move," and courtesy of my freshman year of college. So that is my go-to.
Well, I can tell you, don't let Derek on our team know that, because he will sign your name up ahead of time and make you get up on stage.
Good note to self.
Personal experience.
Place for that opportunity for that to present itself.
Well, thank you so much, Betsy, for taking the time. I, enjoyed this, and, just overall, thank you for these past 5 months as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.